Hi, my name is Todd Fuqua, and I've been a member here at Broadway since about 2005. I live here in the neighborhood, 2 blocks from the church, and I also have a photography studio, so I'm part of Broadway's mission to kind of invest in the gifts and talents of the people that live in the community. I became HIV positive in 2012. I was actually a member here, got a lot of support from the church and the community here. It was a huge deal in my life. I just lost my mom the year before, entered into long-term recovery a couple years before that, so my life was in chaos, quite honestly. And since then, I've learned a lot about HIV and about how to kind of, quite honestly, own my diagnosis. I think for a longest time, several years, I was in a little bit of shock and a lot of shame. Like, I can remember coming to the church here and they would have the Damien Center's Christmas party, and I was afraid to go as a member because not everyone at the church knew, even though I knew in my head that everyone here at Broadway was welcoming and accepting. So it was kind of shame and stigma showing up. And one of the things I've learned in the last year or so as I've gotten more involved as an HIV advocate is something called U equals U, which quite honestly is a game changer for HIV and this horrible virus. So what is U equals U? It stands for undetectable equals untransmittable. So the virus is still living in my body, the HIV virus, but I'm on medication. I take a daily pill and that helps regulate the level of the virus, so that's called my viral load. And if that viral load is below a certain level, like a detectable level using today's instruments, then basically science, and there have been studies that back this up, science supports that the viral load, if it's undetectable, less than 200 parts, I think, per milliliter of blood, then the virus is not transmittable to my sexual partner. So I can't sexually transmit the virus to somebody else. And that is huge. Like, before this kind of became a thing in 2017, 18, even then the US didn't really accept it because the science wasn't there. But in 2019, there were enough studies, the World Health Organization endorsed it. Finally, in 2019, the CDC, Anthony Fauci, who we all know and love now, came out and said U equals U is fundamentally a game changer for the treatment of HIV. And the reason is I can now live a healthier life. So it's not only I can't transmit the virus sexually, but there's a lot less virus in my body, so it's not attacking my immune system. What happens with HIV if I'm not in treatment, if I'm not taking my medication or skip doses, let's just say I go off my meds for a couple years, the viral load is going to skyrocket. And then over time, it's going to weaken my immune system. It could take up to 5-10 years for me to start showing some of the late stage symptoms that we used to call AIDS and now is kind of called stage 3 of HIV. So if there's less of that virus attacking my immune system, then I'm going to be healthier. I'm not going to have some of the long-term effects that people early in the AIDS crisis are seeing now, because we didn't have good medication, right? So their viral load wasn't fully suppressed, and there were a lot of side effects to some of those early medications. Now, with the modern meds that we have, it's very much like a chronic illness like diabetes, taking insulin, or my mom used to take blood thinners for her heart condition. And so it's healthier for me. Living. The other thing I would say is it's a game changer in terms of my relationships. Like, if I were dating, I happen to be married now, but if I were dating, that's an important conversation, a scary conversation to have someone, and to know that the science backs it up, that, hey, I can't give you this because my viral load is undetectable, is huge. It reduces stigma, it gives me choices. It just does a lot of things for somebody living with HIV. And so what I have said, and I didn't come up with this, but what other people have said is, like, for the first time in the history of this virus, we have a chance of really squashing it, because we have medication for those of us that are HIV positive that helps us become undetectable. So U equals U, game changer, right? I can't spread the virus to my sexual partners. And then on the HIV negative side, we also have something called PrEP, so you could take a pill to prevent getting the virus. So if we use those hand in hand, guess what? We got the tools to go boom, and HIV disappears. Now, it's not a cure, so we still need a cure. This is still treatment. Treatment is not a cure, but it's a significant step forward in terms of the science and the medication and the endorsements to say, if you take your medication, you'll be undetectable and you're untransmittable. The other thing I always want to point out when we talk about U equals U is something that I learned early on is really important to really understand that, I am more than my viral load. Like, my viral load does not determine my value. So just because I have a low value, doesn't mean I'm better than somebody else. There are a lot of reasons why someone may not want to get into care. They may not be able to get into care. They may not know about the services, or they may think they can't afford the medication. So there's lots of what we now know social determinants that might keep someone from getting into care. So I don't want to look down on somebody or think I'm better than them. I do kind of live a privileged life as a white person, to be quite honest, but V doesn't equal V. So viral load doesn't equal value. But I still think it's important to get the message out. A lot of people don't know that U equals U exists, don't know about some of the other tools, and don't know that Marion County is a hotspot. So we understand with COVID, if you got a hotspot, you triage it and you squelch it, right? Well, we've got a hotspot in here in Indianapolis and Marion County. So what do we need to be doing? Getting the message out about U equals U, the message about PrEP, so we can squash this virus once and for all. So that's why I'm super passionate about U equals U. I think we ought to have billboards around the city and digital ads, really educating people. And so that's part of my message today. If you have questions, hit me up on Facebook. I would be glad to talk about this and invite a conversation. Thank you.